From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Friday the 6th of May 2022. Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing some of the biggest stories, including the controversy about Exocet missiles and Putin's apology to Israel. We'll also be answering today's big question, why are the French left uniting, as well as discussing today's elections in the UK. Like every day, those last two things are exclusively in the extended version of the daily briefing on Nebula, with that version being about 3 times longer than the normal show. I'm telling you that because just this week we've been running a special offer, 42% off. That's just $11.59 for the whole year. Anyway, it's linked below and I'll explain fully at the end of the video. But first, Belarusian President Lukashenko's reservation about the war in Ukraine. As the war in Ukraine rages on, some of Putin's allies seem to now have some reservations. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, a staunch friend of Vladimir Putin, stated to the Associated Press on Thursday that he did not expect the war in Ukraine to drag on this way and that he did everything in his power to prevent a conflict. Although Belarus has been officially neutral, it has been accused of being a launching pad for the Russian assault. Due to this, Belarus has now been a target for Western sanctions. However, its relationship with Russia has eased some of the impact. Lukashenko also played up his role in the Russia-Ukraine peace talks, stating that those would not have happened without him. Nevertheless, Lukashenko remained committed to Putin, calling him his big brother, and that Russia has no friendlier ally than Belarus. Yesterday, we saw Putin do something rather unexpected. Apologise. Specifically, Putin apologised to Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett for comments made by Sergei Lavrov about Hitler. Lavrov claimed that Hitler had Jewish blood and that somehow the most rabid anti-Semites tend to be Jews. It should go without saying that those comments caused outrage in Israel, a country who at the moment is neutral on the war in Ukraine. Putin, potentially motivated, at least in part, by the desire to keep Israel out of the war and ensure they don't start providing arms to Ukraine, apologised to Bennett on the phone. It's been reported that Bennett accepted the apology. Additionally, on this phone call, Bennett asked Putin to allow for an evacuation of the Azovstal steelworks. Whether Putin accepts this request is as yet unknown. We've heard a lot about China's zero-COVID strategy in the last few months. While many countries have moved to simply live with COVID, China seems insistent on trying to completely rid their country of it by insisting on lockdowns, mass testing, and movement restrictions. These mechanisms, though, are quite costly both financially and on the populations who have to endure them. Today, though, President Xi seems to be keen to reaffirm this policy. In a speech directed to his Politburo, Xi told them to unwaveringly adhere to the general policy of dynamic zero COVID. He insisted that we have won the battle to defend Wuhan and we will certainly be able to win the battle to defend Shanghai. The issue is, these recent lockdowns have meant that the 25 million residents of Shanghai have suffered food shortages recently. There's also been a lot of speculation this week about whether France withheld vital information about Exocet missiles during the Falklands War. And today it seems like we have some answers. Exocet missiles are French-built and were used against Britain during the 1982 Falklands War. Despite this, France instituted an embargo against Argentina, ensuring that no more French arms were used against Britain. France had positioned itself as an ally of Britain. It was reported this week that France knew that there was a kill switch on the Exocet missiles that they'd provided to Argentina previously. And today, France confirmed that this was true and that they did not share this with Britain at the time. This was after they denied that this technology existed. In essence, the kill switch is a box which can be fitted to a submarine which redirects the missile. If this was fitted to British ships, then soldiers, such as the 32 who died aboard the HMS Sheffield, could have been saved. In the last story today, we stay on the topic of missiles. President Donald Trump's former Pentagon Chief, Mark Esper, is soon to release a new book entitled A Sacred Oath, in which he claims that the former president became erratic in the run-up to the 2020 election. In one meeting, claims Esper, the president suggests firing missiles into Mexico to hit labs used by drug cartels. Trump suggested the US would then deny that they were responsible. Obviously, if this plan was enacted, it would have constituted a war crime. Worryingly, Esper then goes on to outline some other outrageous plans that were suggested by senior figures in the Trump administration. One was to send 250,000 troops to the Mexican border, and another was to dip the head of ISIL leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in pig's blood as a warning to other terrorists. Esper was also concerned that the former president would have soldiers seize ballot boxes to ensure he wasn't removed from the White House. As with all these plans, it didn't come to fruition. That's all we have time for on YouTube today, but remember, it never gets cheaper than right now to get a full year subscription to Nebula. That way you'll get the ad-free extended briefing every day, including the answer to today's big question, why are the French left uniting, and our discussion of today's UK elections. That's available to watch on Nebula or stream to your podcast app of choice. Like I said, our friends at CuriosityStream, the streaming service which offers some of the world's best documentaries, is offering a deal whereby you can get both platforms, CuriosityStream and Nebula, for $11.59 a year. That's all of the documentaries you could want on CuriosityStream, and then more TLDR on Nebula, including the extended briefing, other full TLDR videos, and, well, it's always ad-free. Click the link below to get both services for less than $12 a year, the cheapest it gets, whilst also supporting the channel.